Hey, if you're a teenager, you know how difficult it can be to live life as a Christian.
And you would think that God would just make it easy for us, right?
Yeah, but following Christ is hard. In today's episode, there is some good news.
Welcome to the Bible Story Podcast. My name is John. My friend here is Braden.
Yeah, John, I don't know what life for you was like back in the olden days, but much of my junior high and high school was kind of challenging. Lots of relationships. I wanted to be known for having a good time, and I found myself kind of compromising on certain situations and even hurting a few of my closest friends just by the way I acted and some of the things that I got caught up in.
You know, even though my junior high days and senior high, those were through the 90s. Kind of when the dinosaurs lived.
Right.
I can relate.
Is that how old you are now? Is 90?
I am super old. Yeah. Anyways, growing up in a Christian home, in going to church, being a Christian myself, it added this extra layer of complexity to get through high school and relate to my friends well.
Yeah. I can understand that struggle. I mean, for me, it was a little different. I didn't become a Christian until after high school at a Bible camp. And I was already an adult, but I remember this feeling of a lot of my relationships changing. As I started to grow and understand certain things differently, it created challenges in my friendships, in my home life. It was a really, hard thing to navigate.
Well, we're going to continue through our series in Philippians. And today we're going to look at chapter 2, verses 12 through 30.
Yeah. So what's really great about this passage is Paul, who is the author of the letter to the Philippian church, has a lot to say about being a Christian or being known as a Christian. So right away, this passage gets into this challenge from Paul. And what he's saying is, work hard to show the results of your salvation, which in other words is this idea of all of your friends, your family, the people around you should know without a doubt that you are a Christian.
Braden, I spent a good chunk of my time at school trying to live so that nobody knew that I was a Christian. Nobody knew about my Christian faith. I didn't want to stand out. That came with a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and I didn't like hiding it. But honestly, I was just really scared.
Yeah, I know that your junior high school years were a long time ago.
Really long time ago.
But I have to say that I think that is a very similar feeling as to still kids today.
Yeah, we're basically the same age.
No, that's different.
Oh.
But I know a lot of students that would feel this way, and you might be feeling this way as well. They find it tremendously difficult to live as followers of Christ and having a sense of belonging with their friends at school. It seems like, the Christian walk and their friendship walks don't mesh.
Yeah. Listen, God designed us to be in relationship with others. Life is a massive challenge if we don't have a place to belong. Belonging is essential for our well-being.
Yeah. Every day we see people who seem like they're on the outside looking in, or maybe we have even felt that ourselves, like we're on that outside. And it's that feeling of belonging is missing, and life is really tough at that point.
Yeah. I got to say that as Christians, we're just a little different. Maybe a lot different. Earlier in Philippians, Paul wrote about being citizens of heaven. We live differently, which makes us stand out, and people don't always know what to do with that. But it's not like our character qualities that are developed in Christians as Christians are unpleasant. We're called to be loving. We're called to be kind, peacemakers, helpful, and so on. It's not so much that those qualities, Braden, are bad, but that that there's other things that make people uncomfortable. I think it's the preconceived ideas of what maybe a Christian is or isn't that really stands out to people as uncomfortable.
Yeah, I like this idea. I know for me and other individuals that I've talked to or kids, students today, when we say I'm a Christian, when you use that title or that label, all of a sudden you are attaching all of these unpopular ideas to yourself, right? We've seen this, especially in the last few years, of this. People who associate themselves as Christians or use that title are often the ones at the forefront of division or political fundamentalism, or, I mean, simply just overall hatred and mean things, right? These actions that certainly are not the loving and kind, and it, I find it really hard to even be associated with those actions.
Yeah. You don't want to be.
I don't want to be. And so, which has really changed the way that when I say I am a Christian, that's received. And it makes me even more so than ever consider the person on the receiving end of that statement.
Right.
Because they might have interacted or been hurt in the past. I do think in our section of scripture, Paul has some really great insight into this. So let me read verse 13, chapter 2 of Philippians. It says this: "For God is working in you, giving you the desire and the power to do what pleases him."
So I get what you're saying, and think about it for just a second. Can you relate with this? I think it is important to remember that we are all sinful, which means that we're growing, or we should be growing, and we're changing and seeking God. But in the midst of all of that, there's going to be missteps. We're going to mess up. We're going to have faults and failures and things that we're not proud of. I believe a lot of those things is what paints Christians today in a pretty negative manner. One of the most important things that we can do to change that is to live our faith openly, to communicate with others who disagree or have been hurt, and continue to love them even in the difference. It's not going to make it easier,
right?
But it is what Paul is talking about, especially in verses 14 and 15.
So if you keep reading on.
Keep reading. It's really important, I think, for you to take the time to read this passage of Scripture.
So, John, it seems like struggling is pretty normal, especially as we grow. It's a really important, actually, to struggle in the growth, and in faith particularly. The thing with this is, I think it's so amazing that God gives us this desire to live more like Him, to live openly as Christians, and gives us the power to live in that manner, to live in the manner that pleases Him. So I think as we do this, as we continue to seek Him, it can do more for people's understanding or maybe misunderstanding, setting those things right, than having a perfect explanation or being able to, defend or communicate the faith in a way that is going to change people's minds. But just through our actions, we can set those misunderstandings right.
So if you look back at that verse Braden just read, you got to notice that God gives all of these things to us. He gives us this desire to please Him by working in us, through working in us, and specifically on our hearts, right?
Right.
He gives us this gift which grows as we grow in our relationship with Jesus. It can be scary. It most likely will be,
right.
As Braden alluded to earlier in his, as he first became a Christian. It was scary for you.
Yeah, and it impacted a lot of my relationships. I have to say, though, that is true. A follow-up to that is, as I was open to having more conversation about my faith, it did open up some really good conversation with friends. It opened up them the opportunity to ask me and for me to just openly speak on it, right? And overall brought some of those relationships even closer together. It wasn't for every relationship, but it definitely allowed some people to say, hey, my experience with faith was different. I felt hurt here, or I saw my parents be hurt here. And I didn't have to have the perfect answer, but I could say like, this is my understanding, or this is how I hope to live my life. And that was really meaningful for me. So I think we need to acknowledge that it's hard to live as followers of Christ around people who don't know Christ as we do.
Yeah. I think it's hard because we want to fit in. We want to belong, right?
Yeah.
We want everybody to like us.
We don't even, it's not so much want, but we're made to belong. We're made to be in community.
It's the way God designed us.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we have this innate desire, this need to fit in and belong somewhere in life.
But we don't perfectly belong. We know that we don't perfectly belong here, right? On earth. And then when we wear this badge or this label of being a Christian, that there's a weight to that. There's a weight that kind of hinders some of that belonging, at least the initial part that we desire.
And you know what? It's really cool. God gives us the ideal place to belong as Christians. We are citizens of heaven, and so we belong to God.
We naturally want to, please the groups that we belong to. And the amazing part is that as we grow, that as we grow closer to God, God too grows in us the desire and the power to do what pleases Him. So less of the things that pleases the groups around us, and we continue to belong more and more as citizens of heaven with God.
So Paul's encouragement and challenge to the readers was for them to show the results of their salvation. Now, Braden, talk to the student struggling with the question of why. Why is it important to please God? Why should that matter to me as a student?
Okay, so practically speaking, to the gray-haired student, just jokes, but to everyone, we all make bad decisions. It happens every day. Living in a way that shows the world around us that we are a follower of Christ helps avoid some hardships, caused by those bad decisions, and actually helps us enjoy some of the benefit of good decisions. But that's such a small part of it. There's way more. Remember when we talked about being citizens of heaven a few episodes ago? This earth that we currently live on is not our permanent home, right? We're created to belong with God. And so we live to please God because we love Him.
Growth tip time.
Growth tip time.
A growth tip is a way for each of us to grow in a relationship with Jesus. So in today's text, Paul sends a couple of people to the Philippians to help them grow in a relationship with Jesus. Paul mentored Timothy and is sending him to kind of pastor that church in Philippi. The Philippians previously sent Epaphroditus to help Paul, and Paul is now sending him back to help the Philippians.
You say that 10 times fast?
I don't think I could.
Epaphroditus.
That sounds like an ancient word or name.
Okay, so
maybe I should name my next child Epaphroditus.
Do it.
I don't think I'm having a next child.
Right. My firstborn. Just jokes. Okay, so the growth tip is this. God will provide good people in your life to encourage you and help you grow in your Christian faith.
Yeah, look around you. Who in your life could help you grow in your relationship with Jesus?
And if you can't think of anyone, then ask God if there is someone in your life that you maybe haven't approached or talked to who is there to help.
It's important for you to know you are not alone. There are other Christians who will encourage and support you. If you try to live your Christian faith alone, you will find it lonely and difficult. One of my deepest regrets is not being more open about my Christian faith through high school. It didn't need to be as difficult as it was, but I believe that the lie that I was alone.
And as we look for others to support us, we can support other people. That's what a community is, right? That we get to live collectively. Friends, thank you for spending your time here with us today and being here. We are praying for you, and we would love to hear from you. So you can find us on Instagram at Bible Story Pod. You can find us on YouTube, or just BibleStoryPodcast.com is our main website. If you ever have any questions or prayer requests or comments or a topic you would like for us to cover, please send it our way.
Hey guys, you don't have to have it all figured out. We just need to keep growing little by little.
And all of these little steps, they will eventually add up to large amounts of areas covered. And we will be able to look back and say, wow, we have grown a lot.
There's nothing more important than a growing relationship with Jesus Christ. Have a great week.
Hey, we're going to jump into some discussion questions for the episode, Be Known as a Christian.
Hey, we talked about the struggle to be known as a Christian, particularly in our friend groups where there are few, if any, other Christians. We talked about why it's important for us to be known as a follower of Christ. And we also learned that we are not alone in our faith and that it's important for us to have others who are also growing in their faith too.
Jumping into our questions. Question number 1 is this. Are there places, school, work, home life, where you find it difficult to be known as a Christian? And what makes those places difficult for you? Hit pause and share.
Question 2. As a Christian, how do you want people to speak of you? So finish this sentence as if someone else is speaking it. My friend John is a Christian. They are so, and fill in the blank. So you might say it, my friend, then your name, is a Christian. They are so, fill in the blank. Remember that this is how you want people to speak of you. Hit pause and discuss.
And our third and final question is this. If people spoke of you and your Christian faith in the way that you have just shared, how would that impact them? What changes in your faith do you need to impact people in that way? Hit pause and discuss. Thank you all so much for taking the time out to connect with us and with each other. We're so grateful for all of you.
Hey, be sure to pray with each other, encourage each other through this week. Take care. Have a good one.